Hey guys, Comical here. Um, we're back to we're back to it's been quite some time since I made a video. So today we'll be reviewing Paw Patrol the Dino movie. Sorry if I sound unenthusiastic, because I got kind of sleepy and I didn't work very well. It's kind of windy outside. It's the only place where I can talk without getting interrupted. So I'm just happy to have gone to see this movie with my friend. I wish we could have seen more. I really did. Hopefully I didn't spoil that segment. But I'll start with my first impressions with the movie. I'll say that I loved it, but I do think the story for this film is the weakest. I think it's the weakest out of the three of them. Out of the first two, I do think it's the third, on third place, very bottom, because, like I said, I think the story here was a little weak. I was a little bit confused. With Marshall's, I was a little worried that his story wasn't going to be, that they were going to make it repetitive and not something too interesting. But I'm glad to see that they made his backstory a little different. Sorry if I don't sound that enthusiastic, because things have been really hard for me financially, even though I do live with my relatives still, because it makes me not very unoptimistic for my future. Sorry if I don't sound enthusiastic. Anyways, let's go on. Like I said, I was having too much anticipation, too much expectations for the film. That kind of made the film a little weak. And not to mention with Rex, I really don't think they gave enough Rex justice. I know they hired a voice actor who's on a wheelchair, who's disabled, who's on a wheelchair, to try to represent people with disabilities and animals. But I don't think it was executed that well. I wish they could have had a segment to how why he's on a wheelchair, or how he does his challenges. I really wish they could have done that, since that's literally what they said, that they wanted to get the voice actor who's on the wheelchair. I don't think I got that vibes from that. So that's my biggest criticism for that. And not to mention that I really wished he could have had a backstory, which I did find out from a good friend, Studio Tipsy. We're not best friends or anything, but I'm his watcher, and he kind of watches some of my Paw Patrol content, which that makes me happy to see, because I didn't expect for him to come to my channel. Anyways, he did say that he was going to have a backstory, Rex, not Marshall. Rex was going to have a backstory to how he ended up on the island. And it turns out that, he was on a boat like the Paw Patrol, but this time it was just super warring. He was, stranded on the island, and there's a dark theory that the owners, or his handlers on that ship died, that they died in the boat accident. And I like to believe that the boat didn't crash on the island. They must have crashed in the middle of the sea, and he must have been drifted to the island. But it's just sad to think that it pissed me off, and it made me sad that they did that. I wish they could have shown Rex much more love. I really did. I think he's a cute character in the movie. They made his design so furry, like I've said in the past videos about it. He just looks so cute. Oh my gosh, I just love dogs so much. But I don't know if I could own a dog of myself. That'd be too much work. But, like I said, I'm just happy, that we got to see the movie. I will say the pros. I do think, so let's go with Marshall. His backstory was not so bad. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't like the top greatest, although I'll put it on number second. Now Chase's was more, it was a little sad, but I'm gonna have to say that Marshall's is just in second place because it's not the saddest, but it does show it wasn't like a sad backstory. It was more of like showing the challenges he had to go through to try to go over that platform that he was trying to jump over or climb over. So it was just him, it's like not giving up, trying to and I think that's what made Ryder he impressed. That's what made him the candidate because he impressed Ryder. So I'm glad to see. I like to think he's the third member because it shows Chase and Sky in the pub tower. You get to see both of them in the pub tower. I like to assume that was like before the events of the backstory of the first two film. I think they're gonna go in order. I don't think Rubble will be next, but I think it might be Zuma. I don't know if I think Rubble would be next because I remember in the show I think Rubble was the fourth member. I don't remember seeing Zuma. I like to think Zuma will be the fifth one. I think he might be the fifth member. But his backstory wasn't the worst. I'd say it's on second. It's good, but it's not as sad. It does show. I do love how baby Marshall looks. I will say it looks a little uncanny, but it was, like I said, it's not like it wasn't that strong, but it was still good. Sky's is number one, despite it being also weak. But I loved how they empathized with her struggles a little more. I liked how they made her a little sad about her being neglected. Despite her having these pink eyes, which people have made the critique to why wouldn't anyone want to adopt a pup who has a pink eyes? Well, I guess just to show, just because someone looks beautiful or handsome or they have something that makes them adoptable or accepted doesn't mean that it's always going to happen to people who have talent, All right, I'm not going to go too much on the tangent, but like I've said, Marshall's is, I do like the pearl that they gave him. I do think the suspense, has gone a little higher for the third film. I do think the stakes were a little higher for some of, at least in the Marshall segments of him messing up a couple times. But I felt like they did that for plot armor reasons. It's not genuine. Yes, he is the clumsy pup, but I wish they could have made him more clumsier or make more mistakes in the first two films, because I don't like the fact how they amped up the character's flaws just for that armor, the plot armor, for plot armor reasons. I don't like that they amped up his mistakes more just for plot reasons. I wish they could have shown him more clumsier. Yes, they did show it in one segment in the first movie. The second movie, I guess they didn't want to focus on Marshall much. But to be fair, I guess they didn't want to show Marshall's clumsiness too much because that he wasn't the main focus for the second film, and Sky was the big main character. But even in the first film, for Sky, she got a little bit of more love. She was kind of the hero of this first film too. But Chase's was more of like because he rescued Ryder, who was trying to look for Ryder being stuck on when he got stuck on the tower, when the elevator, or at least when he was roping down, he kind of fell into debris, fell into another section. So, like I said, I do like the pearl that they go through. But despite that, despite my critique, I do love that they give him like more suspense. The way how I thought it was kind of intense when Rhubarb and him, and yes, I'll go back to Rhubarb because I'm jumping a little earlier. So Rhubarb, in the section of where the stampede of dinosaurs start, because that's when Humdinger, yes, he's back. Humdinger bombs, tries to bomb these crystals because he couldn't even use an axe because it must have been very strong emeralds or element, that were very strong to prevent it from having to be broken without using bombs, I guess, TNT, So, yeah, and that started the stampede. And then the scene, they do their rescue to try to rescue some of the people that were stuck in the stampede, and the dangerous stampede, And so Rhubarb, they save both of them, and Sky uses her Raptor plane or whatever, a little jet to try to save the both of them, but both ladies, I forgot their names. So she saves them. Marshall helped them save them when he was getting behind them to get them off the dinosaur, to have both of them fly off, or at least one person, I think. Sorry, it wasn't both of them. That was for the later part of the movie. That was for only one character. Sorry. I thought it was two of them. So that, of course, when Rhubarb was trying to, Marshall and Rhubarb were trying to jump over, he was trying to jump to Rhubarb, but because he must have not seen the tree branch, the tree trunk, the tree that was in front of him, he must have miscalculated the jump, and he hit and that was like the most intense thing I've ever seen. But that is nowhere near what happens in the end of the climax of the film. And Marshall's moment, he got hit by. I was surprised he didn't like limp, and he stood, But I guess he must have gotten injured, but I guess he didn't hurt he must have hurt his torso a little bit when he got hit by the tree, when he tried to jump over to Rhubarb. And that was the most intense part of the film, At least one of because then I was shocked that they show a little bit of the medical suspense, but obviously they didn't want to go crazy with it because it's Paw Patrol. They wouldn't go too far. But I will say it was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I liked how they showed the intensity a little more compared to Sky trying to retrieve her stolen pup tag from for Victoria Vance, where she tries to get her stolen pup tag back, and then she throws her on the seat. And that wasn't as intense, unlike this scene where Marshall got hit by the tree. And I think that his worst injury from that moment wasn't from the tree. He must have gone like sprain in his torso area. And then I believe him getting stepped by the dinosaur had to have been the worst injury. But it's crazy how he's even how he didn't even get made because the soil wasn't so bad for him. That's why he didn't die. We can make that theory, even though it's a kids show, that he got stepped and the injuries must have been reduced because the stepping on the soil must have absorbed some of that crushingness and that thing that could have broken his bone from being stepped on, as well. And then, that's the part, like I've said, I didn't like how they amplified his mistakes more for this movie just for plot reasons. I already said that. I'm not going to repeat that. So Marshall and then, Rex, I do like how they do get a few moments, but I wish, they could have bonded a lot stronger. I do like how they show the segments for it, At this point, I was kind of surprised that, I think, and again, like I've said, about Mayor Humdinger. Of course, Mayor Humdinger's role as a villain, he wasn't even the worst villain in this one. He was just okay. He wasn't that engaged. It didn't make him engage more into the story much. They only engaged with him in some of the sections, making him stuck, making him not too much of a villain and more of a side villain. Like in the second movie, I'm kind of shocked, that they didn't give Humdinger more screen time. I think they were more focused on the dinosaurs and the nature compared to the story. I guess they were trying to impress the people with the nature that they had on the tropical island. So I guess that's why they didn't focus much on the story because they were focused on the dinosaurs and the background, and even they didn't focus too crazy much on the dinosaurs. I do think the rescues weren't that interesting for this one. I do think it's the weakest. Unlike with the last few stories where the rescues are a lot more interesting, they were more engaging, but these ones were kind of bland. I guess excluding the final climax and the part where uh, Marshall's truck falls and gets kind of totaled from the fall when the truck slips and fall. But even then, that wasn't even Marshall's fault. I don't blame him for blaming himself, but that wasn't even his fault. He couldn't even see, and nobody even saw the tree branch that kind of got stuck on the thing that pulls the cables. Like even then, that part wasn't his fault. But then again, I don't blame him, and nobody saw. I mean, they should have seen what caused the thing to like get stuck when they were trying to pull the dinosaur from the pearl that he got when the dinosaur got stuck in between both cliffs. So we'll say, I wasn't too impressed with the rescue scenes. The first one was the only good one, and the final climax. I can't say which one is the best one. I think both of them are great, so I'm not going to place which one is number one. I'm going to have to put both of them number one. The climax of Sky and Marshall, because I think now I do like how the second one, they did give her a more like awe moment, like her reflecting on her flaws, Sky's flaws for the first film, and try to overcome them. But Marshall's was a little bit weaker, but I still considered it good because they show the pearl of him, like, when he first tried to save the whole dinosaurs and the people stuck on the cave. I was surprised that they didn't even I was very surprised that they even thought about showing the idea of them trying to find safety in the cave. That must have been their biggest mistake. Must have been their stupidest mistake. I don't know why they didn't even try to escape the island. Like, I didn't know why they tried to like go on near the beach, near the ocean, Like, I don't understand why they didn't try to go. But I'm kind of glad that they did that because that would have been repetitive, So I'm glad that they tried to do something different for that one. And not like try to make the repetitive, oh, you gotta leave the island because the volcano. I'm so glad that Kyle Brunker did something different and not something the same. Like leaving the island is already a movie trope if there's a volcano. Like Alvin and the Chipmunk, Shipwrecked, or even Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, I think the one from 2018 where they try to escape the island because of the volcano erupting and they escape the island and all the dinosaurs die. That one was much darker than this one where I guess he was trying to save the island from, I guess their reason for trying to not let the dinosaurs go near the ocean because there would have been too many of them. So I can see why they didn't want to escape the island because they were trying to save, Dino Island. They didn't want it to like get extinct because of the volcano or get the whole area completely destroyed, So I liked how they tried not to make everything too repetitive. I liked how they didn't repeat the segment of Marshall's downfall when, in the first movie. I will say I like the first movie a little bit better in the aspect of having more tense or suspense of, Ryder telling us Chase to take a break, and he obviously lashes out. And it's the first time I ever see the pups lash out, and then he runs away. And then with Sky's second one, where Ryder tells him she should stay behind because she doesn't have superpowers until they find her superpowers. That that the pup tag they need for the pup tag that they need a pup tag for their superpowers because of the crystal. And of course she didn't accept it. She said that's not fair, just like how Chase said that's not fair in the first film. I'm kind of glad they didn't repeat that. They made the segment of Marshall's downfall. I liked how they showed him getting injured, going into the medical area of the Paw Patroller or whatever it's called, where they make their makeshift pup tower, I guess. So I was very impressed that they didn't try to repeat everything. I'm sorry if this review is the worst review you've ever seen. I'm going all over the place with no script, but I'm trying to be genuine because I don't feel like doing a script. But, like I said, I do like the celebrity cameos. They weren't so bad. I'd say it was a lot better than the first movie. I think they were more, I don't know if it's because they're much older, the celebrity cameos, which is why it wasn't that annoying, So I'd say they did a decent job with their roles, I think Snoop Dogg's role, even Paris Hilton. I didn't even know Paris Hilton was playing Snoop Dogg's character's wife in the movie. Although they do say that they're both friends in real life, Snoop Dogg and Paris Hilton, So I'm sure they were kind of happy that they got to be in the movie together, I guess, as friends, and having to play as a couple in the movie. But, I didn't expect for Captain Turbot. Oh my God, I literally forgot about that. I literally forgot that Captain Turbot got an even better role. I think he got a speaking role like in the first film. I think they already went back to Adventure Island. I mean, to Adventure Bay. I think they went back to Adventure Bay. But I think they were just doing their sea patrolling, I guess, with the sea patroller. I don't know if that's what it's called in the movie. But I was very impressed, that they had Captain Turbot, because Ron Pardo plays Mayor Humdinger and Captain Turbot in the show and even in the movies. So I'm glad that he got his, role a little bit back, and he did a slightly better, kind of a helpful role with him trying to help the family when they got their luxury ship, their luxury, small, I forgot what it was called, their little mini yacht that they got destroyed, unfortunately. I guess they were already a rich family, because there's no way anybody can afford to get an island something. I mean, it would still cost $1 million for even something that small. Looks like a luxury boat. It's kind of sad that their boat got destroyed because of that shit. But, I'm so glad that, that everything worked out for them. Because hold up, I need to take a pause here. Okay, I just needed to relax from talking too much. Like I said, I don't know what else I want to add, I guess. I liked how, because people had problems with why didn't Rex object to the researchers trying to go on the island. People were complaining about why Rex didn't, why Rex didn't contest or push back. Although I guess you could make the argument that he wanted company. He wanted some people to be on the island, Of course, I like to think that nobody else could be on the island except for researchers. Although you could say Humdinger must have sneaked onto the island, because I don't think everybody was allowed to be on the island. I guess only researchers were allowed to be there. To be fair, it's not like all of them were trying to cause any harm. They were just curious about doing it in real life, and they wanted to see. Now they got their chance to, hey, dinosaurs aren't as extinct as we thought we were. They survived at this one island, which is kind of like with the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, where there's the island full of dinosaurs. So I guess they copied some of that for that, from the Jurassic, I guess, the Jurassic franchise. But yeah, um, I don't think I have much to add. I think I've already said my place. Although I guess I could say that I do think the pups, special roles in the movie, I do think the pups had it way worse. Unlike in the first two films, like they gave their time to shine. At least Zuma, like I said, Zuma had the worst. At least in the first, they showed him trying to use the boat as a way to evacuate all the people in that boat. I guess you could say the one good thing about that scene, But I will say, they really did do the other pops a big disservice. The roles weren't that amusing. The rescue roles weren't that amazing. But I do love how they did show Sky's and Chase's friendship. Probably because they were the first to meet each other, I guess. So I guess Sky was the second member, I think, of the Paw Patrol. So I liked how they showed their friendship, even in the final part of the film when they were trying to rescue both of the researchers. When they were trying to, because they went on the horrible lava slide, And, that was like the best. I would say that was like the best thing to show out of Chase and Sky working together. I think their friendship showed a lot, I guess. Even though it was very brief, the friendship wasn't that wow. But I will say, it was very good, for that section. But like I've said, the entire film was so weak, it wasn't even that good, for the pup's role. Marshall, even Rex, I don't think Rex did them justice, unlike with Liberty. I think they gave Liberty a little more love, unlike with Rex here. I think Rex unfortunately was the weakest. I do think Rex was a very kind character, very lovely character. I like to see where he got his manners, I don't know if it's him being stuck on that island that didn't drive him that crazy. I guess the dinosaurs are what helped him cope with not being with other pups or anything, So that helped him have some type of motivation, I guess, But I'm just very happy to say that although I'm not happy, I'm happy that Rex got his time to shine in the movie. But for the director, for when the first movie was announced, he pretty much lied, saying that it was going to be a new pup. That was not true at all. Rex already appeared in the TV show earlier before the Dino movie. Liberty is an exception. She was a completely original character for the movie, for the first two movies, or at least in the first movie. Liberty was just a city pup, and she was just helping them with their rescues in the city at Liberty City. Or should I say Adventure City, excuse me. What the hell did I say, Liberty City? Sorry if it's kind of windy outside. Hopefully the microphone doesn't capture that wind noise much. But it's the only place where I can talk. So yeah, like I said, not the best with the pup's role. Even Rex was very weak, It didn't show too much of the emotional aspect of him. But I do love how Marshall was the one to do a ceremonial inauguration of Rex being the member of the Paw Patrol in the movie. Marshall being the one to give him the pup tag, praising his role in the helping the Paw Patrol, I guess. But I will say the ending was the weakest. I don't think it was the best, in my opinion, the climax part. I do love how with Humdinger's punishment, instead of going to jail or going to jail again in the second film, I will say that was the best punishment that and even the most disgusting and kind of horrifying, like the shock or gag moment of the movie, where his punishment was to clean over dinosaur poop, and even him getting that feces over him. Oh my gosh, that was like disgusting. That was nasty. But I'm so glad that I couldn't have thought about any other punishment for Humdinger cleaning up some of his poop, the poop of the dinosaurs. I thought that was the best punishment he could have gone, because I mean, poop can smell so bad. I can't imagine what dinosaur poop would smell like. Oh my gosh, it's already 2. Man, I was here for a long time. I'm going to try to keep this 35 minutes below. Like I've said, I'll give my final rating again. I'll give all the movies a rating. Like I said, it's the weakest, out of the 3, but it's still a good movie. I'm going to try to go watch the movie again tomorrow, hopefully with my brother and my mom tomorrow, so we can have those movie discount days, because the tickets are normally for standard seating is like $13 here in the US. I don't know for all of the United States, but he did get, the movie was like $13, but the movies at least that are not in D-Box seats are like $18 or $20 if they're like XD seats, I think, with D-Box with XD. And then for discount day is like $6.50, very cheap, close to like movie prices back in the 1960s and 1950s. So I'm going to try to do that tomorrow. Hopefully I can appreciate the movie a lot more. I'm not going to make the review of it, so I'll just give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's still a good movie, still a great movie. I'd give it an 81% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, critic style rating. And I would give, and for the Mighty movie, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. I think it's the best movie out of the 3. I think Sky's backstory was a little better, but Marshall's is good too, second to hers, and Chase's last. His was emotional, like I've said, but it was not, I think they did it way too short. At least I'm glad that they put the backstories a little better for both of the pups, Marshall and Sky. And, and for the first movie, I would give it a 8.5 out of 10, because I thought, I will say I do like how they made it simple and not too crazy. Give it something to like start slowly and then get better with each film that comes. Do I think the stakes were high for the Dino movie? Slightly in some areas, slightly in others that are not. So yeah, I do think it's the weakest of them 4, but they did have the stakes higher for Marshall's climax compared to Chase's, because Chase's was very short and not that awesome. Although the chase, him climbing the tower with his motorbike, his motocop bike, was really cool. It was still a cool scene, but like I said, they're the weakest. It's the weakest out of the 3 of them. But anyways, I think I already said my piece. Hopefully I didn't do too terrible with this review unscripted. It was kind of generic, so sorry if I didn't do a good job here, but I haven't made videos in a long time. So anyways, I hope some of you found some joy in my authentic review for this movie. I would absolutely recommend watching all of the Paw Patrol movies. Even this one. I still think this one was a fun film. The kids are going to love this film. Hopefully my autistic brother, if my mom does want to see it tomorrow, I'll try to see it on my own for myself tomorrow. If my mom or my brother don't see the film. So anyways, I hope to see you guys in the next video. I'm going to make an AMV. I already made my demo one for Marshall's AMV for the Dino movie. Once the film is out on digital, I'm going to make the AMV. I hope it's the best AMV I've ever done. It's going to be a country one. It's going to be Cody Johnson's The Fall. The song is very good choice for, I think it's the best choice for Marshall's backstory and clumsiness of falling but getting back up. So anyways, thank you guys for watching the video. If you liked it, hit a like and subscribe. I'll try to post some Paw Patrol content even for the 4th movie too. Anyway, see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. Have a nice day.